Jay, you have not been on while we've discussed any of the Brendan Sorsby saga thus far, so wanted to let you get your 2 cents on the whole situation, and it's going to kind of dive into a little spin-off topic based on the punishment. But with regards to Brendan Sorsby, we know he's going to enter the supplemental draft. We do not know what his potential punishment would be if he gets selected, whether it's an NFL punishment, a college punishment, because he's not part of the NFLPA yet. The NFL can't punish him, but after he gets drafted.
They can, but they won't. Yeah.
Well, they won't until he's in the league.
Until he's in the NFLPA.
I thought.
So they can't do it before.
Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what college does to him because
he's leaving.
That won't affect the Browns at all.
When the Browns or whoever put in a bid, they are doing it without the knowledge of what his punishment will be moving forward. So I'm curious, and then we'll get into what the punishment should be. But, Jay, for you, if you knew what the punishment would be, exactly what it would be, 4 games, 8 games, a whole season, whatever it may be, would that change your acceptance of what a team would be willing to bid on Brendan Sorsby?
No, and here's why. You're not drafting him for the first 4 or 8 games of his career. As a matter of fact, you probably expect him to be subpar for his rookie season. Most rookie quarterbacks struggle at some point. You're drafting him because you think that the comparisons that have been made to this kid, and yesterday, who was it yesterday? Was it Breer?
Albert Breer said he thinks he's going to be a second-round pick.
A bigger, tougher Baker Mayfield. I don't know if he used tougher, but I think he said...
He just said bigger Baker.
I heard somebody compare him to Jackson Dart yesterday, too.
I've heard that, too. I've heard Jackson Dart. One kind of wild one out there that I heard was this person wouldn't be surprised if he becomes the next Brett Favre. That seems a little extreme. You're talking about one of the NFL's most prolific passers of all time. But the tape on this kid is fantastic. He is very highly touted. The fact that he bet on games and admitted to it, I saw yesterday that his agent basically said whoever takes him will have access to his cell phone.
Right.
To make sure that he doesn't. I laughed at that.
Yeah, I mean,
because no athlete has ever had a burner phone.
Right.
So when I read that, I'm like,
what a joke.
I don't believe that a professional agent would actually say that with a straight face, but they did. Is the kid contrite? Maybe. I don't know. Is he ever going to bet on professional sports again? I would think it's probably less likely that he does it than someone else does it because he's paid the price. He got caught. And I think the one...
He's going to the NFL.
Well, but he was going to get paid either way. I said last Monday when I was on the show, and it was breaking news during the show, that a Lubbock County judge had reinstated the kid. And I had laughed at the time. I go, that will be overturned. Don't worry, this kid's not coming back.
Well, it definitely cost him money because he would have gotten paid a ton in college.
Yes.
And if he had done, or potentially cost him money.
He's still getting his NIL money.
If he is.
Wait, hold on, time out. What?
Yeah, he's still getting his full NIL money.
That's crazy.
Well, until Texas Tech files a suit.
No, Texas Tech just said, we're done. Take your money and go.
Oh, wow.
Well, that's how much money they have there.
Yeah.
Any other school would say, because even if you're Texas Tech and you have unlimited funds, that's still money that now you can't pay to the next kid.
But he had an opportunity to,
that's stunning to me, Mike.
He had an opportunity to improve his draft stock and maybe, be a top 10 pick.
I wonder if he put language in the contract that said, I'm paid no matter what. And Tech knows that, which is why they would say publicly, just take your money.
In the statement they put out when they parted ways, they said, we're not seeking reimbursement. We're just done with the situation.
Right.
Taking and
I'm just wondering if his agent, when he wrote the NIL deal, put in there one way or another, he would be paid this. That's the only way you're going to get him. He's going to go somewhere where he's guaranteed the money. Yeah, money, he's fine. I don't think any team is going to draft him for what he does on the field the first 4 or 8 games, whatever it is. When the Browns made the trade for Deshaun Watson, they knew that there was a punishment coming from the league. The chatter, I think at the time, correct me guys, wasn't it like 4 to 6?
4 to 6.
4 to 6 was the generally
that's what they thought.
Accepted.
That's what they
thought, and that's what was being reported in the media. And the Browns said, look, we're getting a transformational quarterback, a guy that's a Pro Bowler, a guy that can take us to the next level. Let's do it. And then 4 to 6 turned into 11. And really, that was just the first domino in a string of dominoes that led them right off the cliff.
But the suspension isn't going to deter you from not pursuing. It
No.
may change compensation. Like, I don't know that the Browns would have given up quite as much had they known it was going to be 11 rather than
That's
4 to
fair.
6.
Maybe. Yeah.
But they're not going to not pursue him because
Right.
of that.
They had decided they wanted him. Regardless of what the penalty was, they wanted him, so they went for it. And I think if there's a team out there, and the teams that are interested, I read yesterday, the Jets, the Steelers, and, I talk about living in your fears, and man, this is what the Browns have done to me. I hate this organization sometimes.
The Steelers will get him and they'll be a Hall of Famer.
He's the next Ben Roethlisberger. He's going to go to Pittsburgh. He's going to solve all of their quarterback ills. They're going to win 11 out of 12 AFC Norths. They're going to beat us 13 out of 14 games in a row. He's going to come into Cleveland Stadium and Ben Roethlisberger us, and that's what this organization has done to me.
Yeah.
And why I'm living in my fears. So, on one hand, as I'm thinking about, I really want this kid because he is really, really talented. On the other hand, I'm thinking, do we really want to bring in another person with baggage that we know has baggage coming in?
Yeah,
I
it's
just
a tough
don't
call.
know.
We debated it
pass.
yesterday.
I would pass.
I would. Again, as I said yesterday, you as an organization, you have to decide two things: how good is he,
Right.
and how much do you believe his contrition?
Yeah.
Are you buying it? I'm sure, like I said yesterday, there's a lot of guys in the league who have addiction issues, and they're playing in the league. Now, he bet on his team. I'm seeing a false equivalency to the Clase and Ortiz situation.
I agree with that, yeah.
Because those guys were, doing things for the team to lose. This didn't happen in this case.
How big of a leap is it that if he's already betting on his team that he could be vulnerable to?
No, it's not. It's not a leap.
It's not.
But he's not
that
there
far
yet.
of a bridge
like
to cross.
I agree with Bulldog
But it's
on
not
this
the same
point.
thing.
The false equivalency, and that's
It's
what I said
pretty
yesterday.
close.
Here's the thing. He's flirting with the devil here.
Yeah.
It's not a game you want to play. But to me, when you're doing things that you know are intentionally hurting your team, and it's been proven,
Right, that's different.
even though it hasn't been
The
proven
first
yet.
time he throws a pick six in the NFL.
Well, listen, the whispers are always going to be there.
I hear you.
He's
I'm just
done
saying.
that to himself. But,
Yeah.
the whole idea of, he always bet on his team, this was the Pete Rose thing. Pete Rose loved winning or hated losing more than he loved winning. So Pete Rose, that we know of, never bet on his team to lose. But where it gets tricky is you're giving the bookies inside information when he doesn't bet on his team.
Yeah, right.
And
right.
that's why it's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And I know what you're saying, and he is going to have to face that. He's going to hear Kenny Rogers playing the gambler in every stadium he goes to.
Right.
He's going to be, and he's done that to himself.
Yep.
I don't know the kid, so I can't say one way or another whether I think he'll never gamble again. But I do know this. You're one of the few people, Bull, that I know that had a gambling addiction that just shook it off. You just, you just stopped betting one day.
Well,
most people
Yeah.
relapse. It's an addiction, and people have a hard time looking at it as an addiction. It very much is an addiction.
It absolutely is.
And it's about the action and the juice. It's not necessarily about the money.
I said yesterday, and it wasn't, I appreciate you saying that, it wasn't easy.
I know it was. You talked about how tough it was for you.
I think I said this yesterday, but I'll repeat it if I didn't. If I went to a casino now and sat down with just $10, I would go to the ATM 12 times. Now, even though I haven't gambled in 16 years. Yeah, I know it. That's why I don't do it. I don't put myself in that situation. My problem, like many compulsive gamblers, is there's a lot of gamblers that can go a while without gambling, but you know that once you start, you can't stop.
Yeah, it's like
That's
alcohol.
the problem.
A lot of alcoholics say, I don't go into a bar or in a liquor store. I don't trust myself.
These conversations are weird because I hear some people that you could tell know nothing about addiction talk about it, and they sound stupid. But listen, I don't know. There's no clear right answer in this situation. If the Browns have done their due diligence and they believe in the talent and believe in him, I'm okay with them. I would definitely not use a first-round pick. That's too big a risk.
Yeah.
To me,
what's consensus? It'll take a second to get him.
I don't even know. Dane Brugler said today he thought it would be a fourth-round pick.
Wow.
Now, to me, a fourth-round pick is a no-brainer. Why not
flyer.
take a chance?
If you can get him with a fourth-round pick,
I disagree.
do it.
Do not introduce that into the building. Yeah. That's what you said about Shador. What's the harm? It's a fifth-round pick. Well, There was some harm there.
Yeah, but see, I'm intoxicated by the upside.
When you
watch the highlights,
it is not worth. I want no part of this. None.
Okay, if he goes to Pittsburgh and they win
Fine.
multiple.
But you know what? That's why I said
I'm
off
going to
here.
look at you and say, Jay, why did you do this?
But the
to
reason
me?
why I want no part of it is because they've proven time and time again they
they
are
make
not
the
an
wrong
organization that can handle this.
Well, now listen,
That's
that
fair.
so
That's fair.
that I'll give you. That's a very salient
the
point.
The Steelers are an honor roll student.
Yeah, you're right.
The Browns are delinquent.
Ben could have come here and we could have ruined his career. We've done that with other guys.
So when you operate at a high enough model, you can extend a gamble.
Yeah.
No pun intended. Here or there.
The Browns have failed in all their games.
The Browns have burned down their own house.
Yeah,
too many
you're
times.
right. They don't get the benefit of the doubt. That's why when you said if they do their due diligence and they decide that he's worth it.
Yeah.
If the other organizations do their due diligence and they're deciding that he's not, I tend to trust that more than the Browns saying he is.
If the Browns let's say the Browns win him in the 4th round.
Yeah.
And a couple of other good teams bid 4th round also. Would you feel better about it?
No.
I'm only going to feel good about it if he comes here as a model citizen and wins. That's it.
Right.
Is there runway for that? Yes. But is there an off-ramp, as Jason said, where things can go sideways? Of course.
But you know what? If it's a 4th round pick and it goes sideways, then you cut him.
I'm just going to say what I think is going on. Todd Monken was pretty steadfast when he made comments.
He was.
At the golf tournament, I guess 2 weeks ago this was now. He basically said, is this kind of kid that you want to introduce to your... There's the full quote. I don't know if you can read it, but...
We read it yesterday, but he said it's a slippery slope.
Then you've seen it. You can read it while I make my comments. But basically, I don't think... And he's very transparent, much more so than Kevin. But I think as he said this, he had the backing behind him knowing, in all likelihood, that the team was not going to go down that road. Because otherwise, you risk making these comments, and if they do bring him in, the first thing Sorsby's going to see on his social media pages is that quote tweeted at him 1 million times.
I'm not convinced that means they won't draft him, but it would be something to overcome if they do.
It'd be awkward.
Yeah.
You know what? Quite frankly, even if he went to Pittsburgh, the first time he starts a game for the Steelers against Todd Monken, the first thing you're going to see on the CBS broadcast well, it wasn't that long ago that Todd Monken was saying he doesn't want anything to do with this in his room, despite the fact this is the same organization that brought Deshaun Watson into their room, and now he's going to get a chance.
Johnny Manziel into their room.
And it was the same thing that happened for years with Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
The Browns was his hometown team, and they passed on him, and now he comes in as the conquering hero of their arch rival. Like, God, I'm living in my fears right now.
Yeah, you are.
I need
but I
help.
can understand that.
Yeah. It's been 60 long years just getting beat about the head and shoulders with the Browns 2x4. And my hope is that for him, he goes to the NFL and has a great career. I would like to see him, if he's going to be that guy, I'd like to see him do it for us, but there are risks. And to Jason's point, the Petri dish is very muddy.
Yeah.
And, you can put a good seed in bad soil and watch it die. What happens if you bring a bad seed into that bad soil?
Yeah.
It's a rough one.
Question for you guys before we head to a break. Jason, we were kind of talking about this after the show yesterday, but what do you think his punishment will end up being? Based on the track record we saw with Calvin Ridley, who gambled, with coming from college to the pros, the inconsistencies with the NFL and their punishment.
Yeah.
What does your gut tell you the punishment will be for Sorsby?
I can't even venture a guess. It's strictly a guess. I would say probably in like 6 games.
Yeah, that's what I think. 4 to
Somewhere
6.
around there. The Deshaun thing was different because the bad news never stopped coming. Like the Browns made the trade.
Got a lot worse after they got him.
It did. The Browns made the trade for him, and it was funny. I didn't want to interrupt you yesterday when you were talking about you have to do due diligence and you really have to dive.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, that's what the Browns said they did with Deshaun. And they
right.
bring him in, and then all of a sudden the New York Times story comes out with like 70 women coming, that he had gone to 70 different women or whatever for the massages and everything.
Right.
And it just kept. Like the bad news just kept coming, and then there's the HBO stuff, and and the Browns just never could get their arms around it or get out in front of it.
Yeah,
and this is far different than that. You're not going to have that type of instance. So, I do think that.
It is possible. I mean, maybe we find out. Maybe down the line they find out more information about
He
his
bet
gambling.
against his team.
Well,
Yeah, who knows? Yeah.
But I'm just saying it's
Yeah.
not going to be this slow trickle of like different accusers
Hopefully
coming
not.
forward.
Yeah. Right,
Yeah.
that's true.
What you said, yes. If you
Yeah.
comes out that you bet against your team, you're done.
Yeah.
But I think you can go to the league as the Browns did this. I think you can go to the league and you get a sense of this is what the punishment is going to be. This is probably what so that you know how to operate.
But the league won't lock into anything.
But then the league
won't
can
commit
also
to
say,
anything.
yeah, sorry about that, bro.
New information came to light, and 6 became 11.
That's exactly right.
Off topic, but did you see who James Harden? Did you guys talk about this yesterday? Who James Harden hired as his attorney?
No, I didn't see that.
Rusty Harden.
Oh, yeah. Well, I
For
mean,
what?
I mean, it makes sense. He's a Houston-based attorney.
Yeah.
But
What's Harden doing that he needs Rusty Harden for?
James Harden?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys didn't talk about that?
No, we
No,
did.
we did, but
Arrest.
it's a misdemeanor. You got released on $100.
No, I know, but yeah.
James Harden got arrested? I totally missed it.
Oh,
over the
yeah, he
weekend,
got arrested
yeah.
on guns.
I was away over the weekend.
He
I
had,
totally
My
missed
first
that
thing when he saw that, I go, I don't know that and I didn't double check it, so it may have been false information that he hired Rusty Harden. But when he hired him, I'm like, that's not what Rusty Harden does. And besides, this is a
This is a
low-level
nothing burger.
misdemeanor.
Yeah.
It's a
He had a
low-level
gun on it.
misdemeanor.
He
He
had
was
a
out
He had
on
a gun in the
$100
passenger
bond.
seat when he got pulled over
he
for a
had,
traffic stop.
He was registered to carry and everything. It was
Yeah,
just,
he
it was
just
not.
can't have it open on your seat,
Yeah.
and he did.
It's
So I don't know, Mike. Maybe you can look into that. I saw that he had hired Rusty Harden, and I go, and I should have looked
Texas?
into it before I
Yeah.
actually mentioned it.
In
yeah,
Texas, he got arrested for having a gun.
Yeah, yeah. I know.
Wonder
They've
why.
got
No,
pretty
it's
liberal.
according to Yahoo Sports, he has hired Rusty Harden.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw that. I didn't click the story, and I saw the headline, and then as soon as I said it out loud, I'm like, I never double checked that. Let's do that because it could have been a joke.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would hire a high-profile attorney like Rusty
Defense
Harden
attorney
for
for
a
a
low-level misdemeanor.
So-
Doesn't make any sense.
Based off my 12 seconds of research reading a Yahoo Sports article, he had hired Rusty Harden in the past for something else.
Okay. So
And
he's just staying with him.
He's just
Staying
this
with him,
guy.
yeah.
Okay.
All these guys use Rusty Harden.
Spelled
Yeah.
differently, by the
Real
way, not
sleaze.
related.
Real sleaze, Rusty
James
Harden.
Harden,
Well,
E-N,
he
Rusty,
may be, but
I-N.
to me, was it Tony Busby? Was that the name?
Oh, he was a sleaze too. Yeah.
To me, Tony Busby took the cake.
We had both of them on when I was filling in.
Yeah, I
after
remember
you
Yeah,
left.
on the Fan, right?
Yeah, we got Harden and Busby on back-to-back days.
Yeah, which is it's absolutely classic stuff.
Yeah.
Classic stuff.